Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So, today we are interviewing one of my favorite people and also a very strong woman. So, you will see in our theme coming up to the leading weeks, we have quite a few strong women to introduce you. And let me introduce you the first one that I know, who is my co host, Deborah. How are you?
Oh, what a nice lead in. I didn't see that coming. Normally I'm trying to dodge the sting. I just said, put your thick skin on because we're known for loving each other in such a unique way. But thank you so much. Doing very well. Looking forward to the entry of an amazing year. And I'm so excited to have on, I know we're going to talk about it later, but one of the authors to a book that's going to be getting released. And I'm just loving how people are so creative right now. Like the books that are coming, the podcasts that are popping, all the ideas that people are brewing with. And I think it's because we get to sit with our creativity a little bit more right now instead of racing around, and people are tapping into that. So I'm super excited. And I know we have a double author on today.
Yes.
Double author today.
And I want to ask you, Deb, because the person we're going to interview and
Uh-huh.
what she accomplished is huge, in my opinion, when you choose to, well, I will let her tell her story, but when you choose to sit down and write about yourself, I think it takes so much courage and strength to really put yourself out there and do that with the hope that it's actually going to inspire other people. So it's really like getting your vulnerability out to bring in strength into others. But I'm going to ask you, Deb, and you're not
Mm.
prepared for this question. So it's funny because in French we have that saying, I don't know it in English, but when someone throws you flowers, like I did at first, the pot is
Uh-huh.
coming. So, Deb, what is one of the gutsy things you did lately?
Wow. What is one of the gutsy things that I did lately? You know what? Wow. Yeah, I think, yeah, you didn't just throw a pot, you threw a bouquet at me because little things are popping off in my head right now about when you say gutsy, I go automatically to thinking the things that I haven't done yet that I want to do. What I haven't done yet that I want to do. And for me, as a woman that kind of, moves through and feels like I need to inspire and motivate and what have you, I don't really stop and smell the roses very often with my accomplishments. So I actually got a pad of paper last year to remind myself, and it's actually my accomplishments that I did for the whole year, and write those things down because I don't ever stop and really take a look at them. And I'm always looking at what I'm going to do next. But in terms of gutsy, I think for me, there's a couple of things lately. One is I have an idea around something that I want to do in terms of raising funds, doing a marathon, and speaking it out loud. So gutsy, as I was just sharing with someone yesterday, the idea of I've always wanted to do another marathon before before I turned 40, I did one. I wanted to do another one before I turned 50, and I didn't. And so gutsy is I'm mentally preparing myself to do another one. And let's face it, we are past a few of those numbers. I think gutsy is for me saying it once I've thought it. And the other part about being gutsy is doing something and not worrying about what other people are going to think about it. That's one
Well,
of the reasons why I love our author that's on today, is that she's written a book that I've had on my desk for a long time. And one of the things around that book is about how other people will perceive it that are in my intimate world, not the outside world.
okay. Well, thank you for saying that a gutsy thing was not being friends with me. I was kind of scared that you would take
Okay, yeah,
back
that's
this
right.
one.
Yeah, I went super deep on you, and normally we just shoot it back at each other. But gutsy.
Okay, so um, thank you for sharing. And now I'm going to introduce the one that is actually inspiring us to being
Right,
gutsy.
right.
She's a longtime friend of mine. She's an amazing soul, a very sweet person. And the one thing that comes to my mind when I think of her, it's really someone who cares. She cares about people deeply and genuinely and in every single aspect. And today we're really going to, dissect her a little, but we'll start with introducing her. So her name is Carolyn Auger. Carolyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, ladies. This is very exciting. I love being here. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, Carolyn, let's really start with, because you've accomplished so much, but there's the one thing that I really want to point out today that we'll start with it, and it's your first book that you wrote that honestly, I think it takes so much strength and courage, not only to publish it and to put your ideas on paper, but to sit down and write it. Because everyone thinks like, oh, writing a book is cool. No, it's very, very, very hard. So talk to us about your first book that you wrote with all my heart.
Yes, I will. Thank you. And Deborah, what you said, really resonated, because before I get into my book, just yesterday I had a reflexology appointment, and the woman said to me, she said, Carolyn, you don't need enemies. She goes, you are so hard on yourself. And she said, stop looking at what else you can do and take note of all you have accomplished. And that's a message that everyone really needs to hear, because so many of us, especially women, we always feel we're not doing enough. So having said that, when I decided to write my book, it was actually in 2010. I knew I had a story that could help so many people. And for most of my life, I lived thinking, oh, well, no big deal what I went through, no big deal. But when I had my kids and recognized all the things I went through at a young age, it hit me hard, and it made me want to be a better mother. And I finally sat down and wrote the book and published in 2014. And so many people said, wow, that must have been cathartic. And it wasn't. It was horrible. Like you said, Carolyn, to sit down and actually put the words on paper and start reliving it all again. I became dark. I was down. My husband and stepdaughter both said, Carolyn, when are you coming back? Because it just takes you to a place that you really, I had gone through it. I had done so much therapy and so many different modalities to be in a better place. So, which is why I wanted to write it, because I really know so many people that have either been through the same things, similar things, and I know they can come out of a victim role into a survivor role mode. And this is why, I feel like such a strong person and such a survivor, which is very different than burying it and feeling strong, bringing it up and really getting in there. And I didn't write it for anybody, who's afraid to read something that could be emotional. I really didn't write it in a way that I didn't go into too many details, that kind of thing. So I wrote it to inspire people, which I feel anybody that has given me feedback, it's done exactly that. So I'm quite proud of it.
So it's really empowering others. And I know that, it's heavy subjects that you have in there. So give us just like a little overview of, it goes from your childhood basically through your whole life. And the one thing that I want to say that I know is that it is not written in a victim way. And that is, that is the one thing that I find very powerful, because you are talking about such deep, dark subjects without going in details, but it's always with the shining the light on how you are today and how successful you are and how you got out of it.
Yes, well, and some of the subject matters, really, as a child, there was sexual abuse, there was trauma of death, suicide, depression, alcoholism. Like, I pretty much saw and lived, not personally, I wasn't an alcoholic when I was young or now, but I just saw so much that I shut down. So that's, I know a lot of people do that. And there are ways to overcome. And one of the big things I talk about, and I'm super passionate, and I've gone on Facebook in different groups and tried to broach it with people about getting into energy healing. Because to me, that is the missing link for so many people that have been through traumas. And it wasn't just childhood, it was through young adulthood, then failed marriages. Like, all that happens because of poor choices, because of traumas we live through. And until we can heal and really become more whole And I just have to side note to say, so many times people said you have to love yourself before you can truly be loved. And I have to say my husband today has helped me love myself. So, part of my other message in the book is like, don't give up. Don't give up on love. Don't give up on yourself, and just we are all here to evolve, so keep working on yourself. But the energy healing is something I describe a little bit in the book, because it's a key component to getting rid of those triggers from whatever form of trauma you've had.
So Carolyn, can I ask, I mean, your people are hearing you, and there's people that are like, wow, I know someone that's had that experience, or that would be interesting for someone to write a book about that. Wow, that must be brave. Wow, and there's all sorts of things that people, I'm sure, are thinking, particularly if it touches home for them. I think there's a number of men and women that have had trauma in their life that it's really hard just to even speak. Myself, we did a fundraiser for mental health, and there was a gentleman that came on, and it took a lot for him to come on for like a 5-minute segment and talk about how this guy had walked into a hospital finally because he wanted to put a gun to himself just because of his depression. And so that took a lot for him to prepare just for the interview. What did you do through the process? Because it is a very dark place. And most people think if you've done therapy on something, you can't relive those feelings again, or you're past it. But when you venture back, sometimes, like you said, I don't know if it was a surprise or not a surprise, but what did you do from a self-care standpoint? Or did you just grin and bear it because you didn't really know what was going to come up to you? How did you get through that process of writing the book, of getting through the process to inspire people?
I literally, I was writing it throughout a period of time, but then I remember it was January 2014. The weather was terrible outside, and I don't like winter. And I literally, to finish it and to go into some of the darker stories, I just buried myself in it. I lived back in the pain. I let it be, because I knew I couldn't come out of it and go back in, come out. And I knew, like I said, with the energy healing, I knew that would be a place I was going to go back to. And because I had done so much work of releasing triggers and cellular memory, going back and then just getting rid of stuff again was a lot faster. It was a faster process because I had already done so much healing. I have a psychologist that I often fall back on, and I believe everybody needs a person to go speak to.
So you had support through the process. You had some support through the process.
Yes.
Right.
I dealt more with it after I finally hit send and sent it off.
Okay.
And I really said, okay, now
and
enough.
Then you got some energy healing and talked to people and kind of got yourself back to place. Yeah, I think it's an interesting process for everybody. They would need to, prepare themselves or what have you.
What I want to ask you here is, what was your pivotal moment? Like, what happened in your life at some point that really helped you shifting a big part of how you would see stuff, or bringing all things together?
Interesting question, and there's a few answers for that. When I was going through still living in trauma, still living in the memories, the energy healing, there was one session that she looked at me and she said, Carolyn, you've been living in a hologram your whole life. Because when we are, exposed to a lot of trauma, especially young, I disassociated myself. So that became a pattern. And that's true for a lot of people. And I have people coming to me today, not today, but in the past few months saying, my goodness, I know you lived through this. I know your memory came back like so suddenly out of the blue. And I want people to understand, whether you're a survivor or, of abuse of any kind, or a partner of somebody, it's very hard for people to understand how that happens. And they say, like, people looked at me, friends would say, like, I don't understand. Are you sure things happen to you? Like, why are you suddenly remembering? But that's what happens when our soul is really ready to deal with things. The memory comes up, and then it's our job to heal. And I so truly believe that, we have different components, call them chapters or acts. Actually, I'm reading Jane Fonda's book right now, and it's phenomenal. And she, you know, looks at 3 acts of life. And it's true, when you think about so many people in that second act, when you're in your 30s, that's when a lot of things start coming up, because now we are more evolved and we're ready to deal, and we're ready to become a better version of ourselves, which keeps happening throughout our lives.
But I know that there was also like a big thing in 2012 that
Yes.
helped you,
Yes.
say the better version of yourself. And
Yes.
that's a bit where I was trying to take you.
I had a feeling, but I felt like it was really important.
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, your insight in what you're saying, I find it, you know, very deep and very true. And but I feel like sometimes a lot of people have the information, but we don't know how to
Bring
dive
it.
into it and finally do it. And what I'm hearing about through what you're saying, it's also a process, and it's also like every person will have their time when they're ready.
Exactly. And in 2012, a friend approached me for a business. And at that time in my life and my husband's, oh, we were in a lot of debt. There was a lot of stuff, a lot of loss. Within 1 year, he lost his parents 6 months apart. I lost my godmother. And that's like, we were doing things, taking vacations, spending money we didn't have. And this business opportunity came to me, and it is in network marketing, something I used to be shy to talk about or say because of the stigma associated, which I really want to hit on, demystifying the whole network marketing business, because it really is, and I'm getting goosebumps, it's what brought everything together for me. I generally am a very shy, introverted person. Go back to 2011, if you asked me to do this interview, I wouldn't have spoken. There's no way. And, you know, starting that business in 2012, which is where Carolyn and I met. Well, we didn't meet there actually, but she became one of my first business partners. And, you know, the business is a business, yes, but it's way more than that. It's about personal development and empowering yourself and learning to have more courage. And it was actually at a conference, because like I said, I wanted to write this book since 2010. I left a conference in 2012, or actually I guess it was 2013, and the inspiration I got from that conference, hearing people's amazing stories of all they accomplished because of their business. Now, because of the business, but all the inspiration carries through your whole life, whether it's with your family, relationships, other projects you want to do. And I looked at my husband one day and I said, during the conference, I said, oh my God, everything's flooding in. I was so inspired, and an inspired mind can create so much that I knew my book title. I knew exactly how to structure my book and write it. Whereas I had been struggling for years. I started writing the book so many times. Should I write it, you know, make up characters, whatever. And I got on the plane going home from this conference, and that's when I started. I just started writing and I never stopped.
That's incredible. When you talk about demystify, I think it's such a word that people go, huh? Because it's so applicable, right? It's like demystify. It's almost like the word like denial. You know, it's like you believe something or you hear something or you know something to be true, and then someone will demystify it for you, or you have to demystify it for yourself. Or we are by nature. I don't know why I was thinking this morning as I was getting ready, how a lot of us have herd mentality. So if my girlfriend likes it, I like it. If this is what they say at my school is the cool clothes to wear, those are the cool clothes to wear. If I was listening to Gary Vanderchuck, and he was talking about a singer that he had never heard. And after hearing it after a million times from people saying, hey, this is a good singer, he finally went and heard. Now, whether he thought she was a good singer because everybody else thought, but it's like this herd mentality. And so when someone like you comes along, you know, there's a new word that's been coined in the last 5 years. It's like disturber, right? You're a disturber, you're demystifying. And I think the fact that all of us play in that very powerful industry that you're talking about, and we've had many journeys, and you are now an author of a book that is about 20 women that have made their way through that journey and the process of what that was like for writing for people. I really resonated when we obviously had a chance to converse before the interview about your drive and desire to demystify. And it makes perfect sense because you had the courage to break some barriers around writing something so impactful that some people could love and be inspired from, and some people could say, whoa, like you took that risk factor. And I think it's people like yourself that are willing to go, you know, what you think about this industry, or what is that? Why is it that? Are you herd mentality? You know, is it something you heard that happened to someone else? Because it's really interesting, you know, when there's lots of people out there that didn't have great experiences being a waitress. Doesn't stop me from going to a restaurant. You know, there's lots of people out there that have had business after business after business, not in this sector, but they've opened a restaurant, they've opened another one. And if it fails, people, and they go and do something, go back into that industry, people are like, I'm so proud of you. You've got so much courage. You get up and you shake off yourself and you get back in there and you go. But interestingly, in this industry, if someone fails, it's the industry. Not the location, not the person, not the menu, not the environment, not what's going on in the economy. Somehow the industry gets nailed. What do you think that's about?
Well, I think people give up on themselves and people have unrealistic expectations. I think there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to network marketing. People look at it as a way to, oh, I'm going to build this, I'm going to build it fast. And honestly, when I started, and Carolyn was the first person, I was like, oh my God, you have to do this. This is insane. Like, to me, it just made so much sense. Like, just redirect what you're already purchasing, shop in your own store. All your friends and all your family are going to want to do that. And then we all can make money. And that's what stops people going, oh, yes, Carolyn said to me, well, it's a pyramid. And I looked at her like, what? A pyramid? What are you talking about? I remember being in high school and a pyramid, somebody told me, here's $100. Give me $100 and I'm going to give you $1,000 back. And even then in high school, I was like, what, are you crazy? No, thank you. That's a pyramid. You know, corporate America with one person at the top of a company is a pyramid shape. So people get so mixed up thinking like, well, how can I, if I bring people into my team and then I make money on them, like, hello, people, if you're going to bring people in and help them build a business and coach them and train them and work with them and inspire them and I get texts and calls like, and people need help and I love it. It's so, I guess because I love helping people so much, but that's a big part of what life is about, helping others, the sense of community, the sense of relationships. That's what network marketing is. You're bringing people in and building them up and helping them have a great opportunity. And, you know, when you go shopping, guess what, people? Everybody's making money on any purchase you're making. So why wouldn't you want to do it within yourself, directly seeing the impact you're having on people's lives? And I think it's just such a brilliant business model. And I still hide behind it. I'm sitting here so passionate and I'm kicking myself at the same time saying, how dare you ever, you know, want to shrink when somebody looks at you and chuckles that, oh, network marketing, and rolls their eyes, you know? Because to me, I kind of am rolling my eyes at them in a way. And I would never want to put them down by saying, are you crazy? Like, what do you mean? Whereas we're okay though. And we sit back sometimes when other people say something negative about an industry that we believe in and we see, and we're living success because of it.
So Caroline, Caroline, this is very confusing for me, people. Just want to let you know. So CC. So, I mean, look, we've played a lot in business. What do you think? I mean, what's your opinion on that? Like, some people like, oh, I don't want to make money off my friends, or, oh, my girlfriend was in that. And like, what do you think it's about?
Well, I think it's very interesting because, like Carolyn said, anything that you buy, people make money on it. And it's funny how, you know, without naming the big W store that everyone shops at, that, you know, the owners are billionaires, no one feels bad to go and contribute to their billions. I don't know if it's because it's so disconnected that they don't see it. They don't see the chain of profits and they don't see where it's going. Or I don't know anyone who feels frustrated when they order on Amazon that they're contributing to the richest man in the world. You know, I think that it's just because that's a conventional way of doing stuff. And for us, it makes sense because just because we grew up like that. And then when you start being in network marketing and you see and you know the person who's gonna make a percentage on your purchase, you're like, oh, well, no, I don't want that. You know, I feel like there's a huge part of personal growth in there because my whole network that is supporting me and my clients, and there's, you know, hundreds, and my team, they have a different mentality. They live in 2021, first of all. You know, they are with the new rules, and they do understand that it's just a different business model. Instead of the conventional business that actually, you know, produce their products or buy recipes and produce their products, and it goes through a whole manufacturing line and shipping line, and then it goes to the grocers and the head office, and then each stores, and then you have to pay to decide which shelf it's going to be on in the stores, because most people don't know that. But if the product is on the top shelf versus the bottom shelf, there's a different price to put your product there. It's not just like random. So all of these steps are profits. In network marketing, whatever company it is, you have the company that will produce their product, manufacture them, and ship them directly to the client. The only in between is consultants, partners, call them how you want, like us. So, you know what? I prefer encouraging those people because I've seen so many, you know, single women or single moms, sorry, or different people struggling and finding a way to make end month easier and then having a better lifestyle and then growing. And beyond all of that, what I've seen the most in this industry is people growing, personal growth, because you can't be in this industry, stay in this industry, and succeed in this industry if you don't do personal growth. And honestly, I only want to hang out with those people.
I totally get it. And you know what, when I think about it, it's funny when this industry started, right? I mean, I'm talking, I'm a child of a mother who sold Tupperware. We all know Tupperware. You got together. It was really great. But it had a home spin on it. It was women did is honestly, I remember the term apron money. It was apron money. It was money that you got to keep for yourself in your apron because the real provider was out there providing for the family. Okay, so things have changed. We can't go back and go, hey, that wasn't cool. That was the time of the, you know, that was that era. And so people were so into supporting their girlfriends. I mean, it was a completely different, there was no, oh, I don't want to give my money to you. It was like, I want to give my money to you. I want to support my girlfriend, whether I'm buying your knit. I'm not kidding. I mean, this may sound archaic, but one would crochet, right? And you would buy the crocheted Christmas ornaments to give, or you'd go to the craft fair or to the school market, and it would be women that would make their craft needlepoint. I mean, I'm not kidding, that it was considered like that, supporting each other, whether you were baking banana bread or cookies and selling them. It had that feel to it. And then all of a sudden it really shifted as I think home parties and multi-level marketing became bigger business, and people were like, oh, what do you mean bigger business? Two things I think is a major component. One is the people's level of deservedness, because most of us are okay with people making the same amount of money of us or less, right? But when someone starts to break away, we know what that feels like for a lot of people in a lot of industries. But the other thing is speed. I think we need to demystify. There was a time, and I think it was really the 80s, where everyone was like, you could in 6 months stand on that stage and flying on your private jet. I'm like, what are you thinking? And so people came in not thinking. People came in thinking that this was more of a lottery ticket, right? But this is a lottery ticket, but it's also called network. And so when you build, and again, I listen to a lot now. I mean, look, I've got a 17-year-old I got a teenpreneur, right? And when I asked him how much money he wanted to make in his business in the first year, he had no qualms telling me an amount of money that I haven't made yet in my business. No qualms, and didn't even think. Now, I didn't burst his bubble. I said, I just want to let you know, as an entrepreneur, you're taking the hard road. Just so you know, rewards, way better. I think they're better, but this is not, you know. And so there's this idea that everything's going to come to you so fast. And I think that started in the 80s, and it's continued. And then you've got a generation of things that move like this. And if you're not making 6 figures in 6 months or a year or whatever, people start to feel like it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Well, I love the warnings that Carolyn has about that.
Tell us your warnings, hon.
Well, I just feel like people really think that you're going to come in, you're going to, you know, fly to the top, and life is grand. And this is going back to why people have this misconception, is because so many people jump in. And I'm always of two minds. I'll have people come in, join my business, and go, oh my God, I'm going to get this one. And they're thinking they're going to get their closest friends. And you don't want to discourage that energy. But at the same time, I like to bring the realism in to say, listen, you know, most often your best friends do not want to join your business. And that's just the reality. So just so you don't get crushed, it's great if they want to. But, you know, I like to let people know that you may hear, oh, this person, oh my God, look what they did. They had 5,000 followers on Instagram and they went to the top in 6 months. And I'm always like, that was for that person. This isn't, and I think this is a big issue, that when people see and hear things on social media, that's where they make this assumption that people come in and they're young people and they're living this lavish lifestyle and it's happening fast, when business takes time. If you open a store, are you going to become a millionaire overnight? No, you can own a Starbucks, and oh my goodness, don't get me started, because even there you're investing so much money. Your next 8 years of your life is devoted to then make a profit 8 years later. People see that and that makes sense. So why do you expect to come into network marketing and things happen overnight? And then what happens if it doesn't? And I've seen it over and over, as I'm sure you ladies have. People come in, and if they're not super successful in their first couple of months, they go into MIA, right? Like they're just going to that witness protection program. We can't even reach them. They don't answer texts. And it's like, why? You've just given up on yourself. You saw an opportunity that is so amazing, and somewhere in there, you know, they just fall away and go, well, it doesn't work. Or somebody says something about that company because they had a bad experience. And I always tell people, if you love Lululemon and you walk into that store one day and there's a lousy salesperson who really annoys you, are you suddenly going to hate Lululemon? No. Like, so people have to stand back and just it's almost like people have to start thinking more for themselves and make their own opinion, instead of, like you were referring to before, Deb, you know, everybody else's opinion doesn't matter. You have to know for yourself, is this, and I've been in it over 8.5 years. I'm still nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm not going to ever give up because I believe in the industry so much. And it's been more about believing in myself. That's what's held me back.
And I think we talked, oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I think we talked about that earlier, all three of us who are network professionals, and we've seen the business go from home party to, you know, what it was in the 80s, which was a bit of a what? And we've seen it grow into network professionals. And I really, you know, hats off to you for mentioning it in the second book that you've authored. Maybe let's get into that a little bit, about how really it's now the responsibility of people that have been in. It's the responsibility of people that have had the success and the failure. It's the responsibility of people that have made income in this industry to go, you know what? Doesn't mean I didn't wake up and want to quit one day either. Doesn't mean people didn't quit my team either. Doesn't mean that. And So we need to make sure that we don't portray an image of ease and be transparent and honest. And unfortunately, unlike other business owners, like I don't, when I went for a restaurant, I went to dinner last night in a gorgeous restaurant. I know you guys are kind of in shutdown, but anyways, we're not as much. So I went to my favorite restaurant, which is the Bacchus Room, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous restaurant. And I don't hear their pain. You know what I mean? I just have this gorgeous, beautiful experience, and that's what I want. But it seems like, and like, the restaurant owner's not telling me what happened or what their numbers are this month. So, but it seems like in this industry, we need to be a little more transparent and also a little more proud. If there's a message, what I love is like, you're raising the bar by demystifying, you're raising the bar. And I feel like we need to be a little bit more proud. Like, so what do you do? And sometimes people are afraid to say, I'm in multi-level marketing. I think we need to go, I'm in multi-level marketing, and people are like, oh, I'm like, who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be, right? Anyways, that's that. Why don't we talk about about this next book that you're in?
Yes, I'd love to. First of all, I was very grateful. Carolyn, approached me about being in the book. And even though people may look at me and see me successful, and Carolyn's like, you're powerful. And the second the word powerful was in there, I was like, no, I don't need to be a part of this. No, thank you. And she had to say, Carolyn, can we just get on the phone? And, I had to let that shield down and just stop. It's like always this way of, sometimes I don't even know, but I look at so many other people that I look up to and are inspired by. And when you dig in, when we spoke with some of the other authors, every single person, as powerful as they appear, all still have those insecurities. So being part of this book and just letting that go and saying yes was another huge step for me. And I really, when I sat back and started writing the chapter, I thought, you know what, I do have something to say. I do have words that will help inspire other people when they're starting their business, and let them see, because like you said, Deb, we're not supposed to talk about the failures. You're supposed to always have this like, oh, business is great. And I remember when I started hearing, no, if somebody asks, your business is booming. And I'm like, what? Okay, the company might be booming, but why should I say I'm booming when I'm not? Like, that's not being authentic. And now and I kind of feel like I was ahead of the thinking. So now we are being coached saying, like, be authentic, be true to yourself. And that's more fitting. And I feel like there are way more spiritual people in the business who feel that same way. And this book will be a godsend for anybody already in the business and those starting to it'll be like that Bible for people to say, okay, what happened with these women? And it'll be something to refer to motivate you when you're feeling down and discouraged, because I promise you, everybody in this business gets down and discouraged in some way or form. And just like I was telling my daughter the other day, you know what? I absolutely love what I do. I love my massage business. I love my coaching. I love my Arbonne business. I love all of it. Yet there are days I would like to take myself and go on a deserted island and stay there for a month. Okay. So everybody has to, yeah. Everybody has to recognize that there's no perfect life. Whatever you think you see on social media or anywhere else, or what people let you see in their lives, everybody is struggling at different times. Nobody's privy to,
I remember, I'm going to just interject here. And I remember one of my biggest mentor, that honestly, I read his book even before, being in his company. And I always admired him. Like I've always joked that I'm in love with him, but I'm not in love with him. I'm in love with his mind and his greatness. And, I'm talking about Jeff Wilson here, but, I've always admired everything that he has achieved and his personality and his life philosophy and this and that and that. And I remember being at a conference, I was probably in my second year, and he said, yeah, when I have my funk days, And for me, everything stopped. I was just like, what? You have funk days? You have fun days? Can we talk about it? Because it didn't make sense to me. And it was just like, people, if you are human, you have fun days, and you need to have those days to have those super happy days, because otherwise everything would be like a linear, boring life. But you need to have the harder days to have the easier ones, and the Saturdays to have the happier ones. The big difference is with someone successful and someone who has done a lot of personal development and everything like him, he doesn't stay in there, and he knows easily how to pull himself out of it. Someone who's not experienced or hasn't done all this work will let themselves down spiral in there, and have it impact the rest of their day and the rest of their week and the rest of their month, and some the rest of their life. So that's the big difference. But what you're saying, Carolyn, it's like absolutely true. I even had another leader telling me one day, if you never thought about quitting your business, or if you don't think about quitting your business like once a month, you're not working hard enough. you know because it is what it is. If you are human and you're really invested into something, you will have ups and you will have downs. It's just a normal thing. And I'm so glad that you did accept to be in our book, which is 20 Powerful Women in Network Marketing. It's absolutely amazing. But I want to touch on one last subject with you, Carolyn, because that's how I met you. And that's a big part of your role still is like, you're an amazing massage therapist. But obviously, if people don't stay all live close enough to go see you, but you also give amazing life coaching, in general. And why don't you talk about this aspect a little bit?
Sure. I mean, having people on your massage table, which I've been massaging for 15 years now. And even that, when I started, I was terrified, didn't know how I'd get a client. And it's like that for any aspect in life. So whatever you're starting, just know things will come together. And for me, massage has been such a passion because I had no idea. I don't say this often, but I had no idea the magic in my hands until people started telling me. And then you start believing it because you hear it often enough. And then intuitively as well, I would start getting messages and saying and asking questions, and people would be shocked. Like, how did you know that? And I would say, I'm just a message I'm getting. So I would know to ask the right questions, and that would help them heal some aspect of themselves, even emotionally. And it's a very, massage is a very intimate, non-sexual, non-sensual, like it's sensual in a way, but very therapeutic is my point. So people will always feel better. And I don't call myself a life coach per se, but I am coaching people all the time on the table, and before, a massage, sometimes after a massage. So I've turned that into helping people more one-on-one on Zoom, more health and wellness lifestyle coaching, where I help people. And let's go off the slight edge by Jeff Olson. Like, I read his book and I thought, wow, that's exactly how I want to help people live their lives, because I'm somebody that had lots of health issues and things I had to change. I talk about that in my book. I had to make a lot of changes to be healthier, but I'm never going to be that health freak. I don't like to use that word, but some people think I'm a health freak, and I have no idea why. Because if you really know me, I love my chocolate. I've been eating like a little porky here the last week, drinking wine, enjoying all the great things that aren't great for us. But that's what I do with my, clients. Like, I tell them, they'll look at me and say, okay, so what's my diet? And I'm like, I'm not giving you a diet, because diets don't work. Think about it. So it really is a way I can help people, and I'm passionate to help them make their own goals and make their own action plan and choices that don't involve deprivation and, stopping, never eat that again, never have that. And it works so much better. I do, of course, offer a 30-day program through my network marketing business, which has helped so many people because it is a reset for the metabolism. But that's one aspect for 30 days. People, and it does help people change habits and that. So I feel like everything combined between the massage, between my network marketing business, between the coaching, my story, my book, like it's all encompassing. And that's where, Carolyn, you've said, and you've known me, I am so passionate and I care so much about wanting people to be a better version of themselves while letting go of thinking they have to be perfect in all aspects, because there is no such thing as perfection.
No, and I met you before your network marketing business, and you were already doing all of that. So, well, it was such an honor and a pleasure to have you, but I do know that you have a little gift to offer to our listeners. So I will let you announce it, and I will let Deborah, close all this. So go ahead, Carolyn.
All right. Well, I'm
No,
excited.
Carolyn.
Yes.
Carolyn will say what she's giving. Sorry.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun. So what I'm offering is anybody you reach out, I guess my contact information will be available to people, and I will draw names for 3 free ebooks of my With All My Heart. And I just want to mention my book is in a pseudonym like Elizabeth McLennan. And I only did that because the publishing company, when I self-published, wouldn't publish it in my name, even though all the names are changed and what have you. So I am considering republishing, but that's another project. So 3 free ebooks and then 3 free sessions for a health and wellness coaching, or any type of coaching really, but the free 30 minutes. So free 30 minutes, 3, I'm getting tongue tied, and 3 free ebooks. So I look forward to hearing from you guys.
Well, that's good. 3 people on here, 3 people in network marketing, 3 offers of books, 3 free coaching sessions. So why don't you do this for our listeners? Because we have listeners and we have people that are watching the video. Why don't you just tell people how they can contact you with your email so they hear it, and then yes, we'll have your information as well. Sure. What email should they reach you at?
The best one, easiest, is augiercarolyn@gmail.com. And Auger is spelled AUGER, and Carolyn, CAROLYN @gmail.com. So pretty straight.
Perfect. So this has been fabulous. And, I have to say it's been wonderful to get to know you. I relate to so many things about you. I can definitely see, Carolyn's been amazing. What a great person to I just think it's so shocking to me that Caroline, you've got great friends. You've got great people that do great things. And I think that's one of the things that helps elevate people as well. It's like, who's your circle, right? Who's your circle? Who are you listening to? Who are you going to for support? And when I listen to you talk, I hear a lot about support and other people, but I also hear a very strong core of knowing yourself, right? I hear a strong core of knowing yourself, and that can, for some people, come from many different things, but yours has obviously come from self-resilience. So I think that you're an incredibly resilient woman. And thank you so much for sharing parts of yourself with us today. And I wish I lived where you did, because I would absolutely be on that table. Absolutely be on that table. Everyone should have a massage table at their house. I've got one too. So it was a real pleasure to meet with you. And I can't wait to just continue on in our network marketing and really being an advocate for this industry. I think you're really a beacon as much as you are, Caroline. So I'm just going to humbly say it was great to spend the hour with you ladies, and thank our listeners and our viewers for popping in. I hope you heard, if anything, resilience and strength and inspiration. And if you haven't explored the world of network marketing, find a network professional to have that conversation with. Right? Someone who can take you to where you are, to where you want to be, and not let you give up on yourself.
Exactly. Good point.
That's a beautiful way of ending. So
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And, stay tuned for others. Our next interviews will be other women from this 20 Powerful Women book. So there's there's going to be a lot of nice treats in there. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Right.